Hello and welcome to another episode of our Cheyenne and Arapaho Productions podcast, coming to you from the greater Concho Metroplex, right? Hey, just had a traffic jam out there on Black Kettle Boulevard today. Anyway, I'm Darren Brown, your host, and I'm joined today by folks from the Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribe's Social Services Department, and that's a big department with a bunch of cool stuff going on. But first, we want to introduce you guys. So if we'll start here, we'll work around, and then we'll get it kicking.
I'm Winona Youngbird, Executive Director of Social Services.
Eddie Hamilton, Food Nutrition Services Director.
Kylee Wilson, Indian Child Welfare Director.
Okay, and I know that there are a lot. Matter of fact, there was another two or three people who we thought might show up, and we don't have enough microphones, so we said we just need a couple of it anyway. So, Winona, since Executive Director, that's a big title, and the thing is, it's a very large department,
Yes.
and it covers a lot of services. So, I know you can't tell me just go down the list. I mean everything. No, I know. Just can you give us an overview of what department does?
Okay. Our department basically focuses on direct services to tribal members in regards to like shelter, food, utility assistance. But with like Kylie's program, we also protect our kids. With Eddie's programs, we feed people. So a lot of the programs that we have just basically direct services to people in need.
Yeah, and I think this tribe just hit 15,000. I think I saw that, and so with the lowering of the blood quantum, man, we're getting more and more folks on a roll, which is great.
Right.
But at the same time, that means there's going to be more need for services, right?
Right.
So and when you talked about that, those are like the main things that we all need to survive and function as good humans, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you can't do it if you don't have food, shelter, and financial help, right?
Yes. Yeah, and I think everybody has always like come to that point where there is a need, not because of, if you have medical bills or a car broke down or something. And, sometimes
preach on.
One paycheck behind it can really affect your
Yeah.
household and your food security. Being able to pay the astronomical utility bills out there in rural Oklahoma. But that's the kind of stuff that we're here to help. Most of our programs are federal. So it doesn't just serve Cheyenne and Arapaho tribal members, but they also serve tribal members of all tribes across the nation. So we can serve anybody that's enrolled, or even with like the food programs, all the way up to descendancy. And it doesn't have to be just Cheyenne and Arapaho.
I wasn't aware of that. Okay.
Yes. And so all of our federal programs are that way. But we also have some gaming programs, which include the HOPE program and the Elder Care program. So we do have a couple of gaming programs that are able to help outside of the service area as well.
Okay. Well, I'm glad. Thank you for, getting me hip to that. I didn't realize that's. I guess if it's a federal thing, then you have more leeway with maybe who you can serve. Is that what you're saying, right?
Yes,
Okay.
tribal-wise.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
Yes.
Well, Eddie, I know you're here. You've been with that program, your food distribution, for what, going on 4 years here, something like that?
Right, close to that.
So tell me about your program. Tell me how it works. And there's a couple more centers, right? There's not just the food distribution here in Concho, but there's others.
Well, actually, the food distribution program operates out of Watonga. That's the main headquarters for food distribution. We also have a satellite office in Clinton as well. And so we service those that are in need of food. And if you're eligible, it has to be income-based eligibility for that program as well. But we also incorporate in those programs, we have the food pantry that was implemented 2 years ago. And so we try to help tribal members specifically for that purpose, is to help make sure that they have food available in their homes. Like she mentioned, if they run short of paychecks or tight on money for that month, that's what the food boxes are for.
Yeah, you talk about paycheck to paycheck. I saw a meme on Facebook. Said, "I used to live paycheck to paycheck. Now I live paycheck to 3 days before paycheck." Hey, I think we have all been there. I've been there. Hey, I'm just, I ain't preaching to the choir, right? All right. I know man, sometimes we just live on the edge and sometimes you just can't get around it. You got to play that game like, hey, which one of these bills is a bank going to pay first? And usually they pay the one that's $5 and not the $500 one you got to pay,
Right.
So you know what I'm saying. But so let's get to you, Kylee, and speak about your program a little bit.
Well, I'm the director of Indian Child Welfare. We service families that are experiencing trauma. We try to help with the prevention from removing the children and provide resources to families. We service children that are eligible or enrolled, but they do have to have a biological parent enrolled for ICWA to apply.
Okay. And the thing I want to ask about each of you about, we're talking about the services you provide are generally provided to people who, and I shouldn't say that. I mean, families who you have to have you have to meet the requirements for certain services, for help with your utilities or other things like that. So, do you ever run into any sort of stigma? Obviously people, if you get to the point where you need help, you can't be proud about it. But do you guys run into that? I'm curious.
I think one of the things about our program that that I have discussed with these directors as well as our entire staff of our department is that we don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable to come ask for help.
Yeah.
We want anyone. It doesn't matter if they're, the below poverty levels and, the things that the eligibility, some of these programs like the food pantries, there's 3 food pantries and we deliver outside the service area. I want anyone that's a tribal member, that's the eligibility. There's no income, nothing. There's no.
What good is a service if people aren't coming to grab it?
You want them to feel comfortable. So I always tell our people in our department, go by and go get your food box. When's the last time did you get a food box? I ask people in the hallways, because I want them to feel comfortable coming to us. I don't want anyone to feel like, they're ashamed or embarrassed, because that food box can carry you through at least 3 days. I mean, everybody comes up. There's always a short week every month. Somewhere in that month, we've got all the bills due, and then we're kind of short, and we're on ramen noodle diet on Wednesday, But this one, and our food boxes are great. So, but that's the thing about our programs. When they come to see Eddie, not just for food pantry, but food distribution, he also has elderly nutrition. We want those elders to come in there and feel good about coming to see us. Same with social services or Hope or elder care. I don't want anyone to have, like you said, there's a stigma, but it's not all the same people all the time. Everyone struggles sometimes.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because I think obviously there are some people who they're just in the situation, and it may be through no fault of their own. And maybe, but I was talking with somebody just the other day. A friend of mine lost his job, and I said, if I've learned anything getting older, is it everything's temporary. I said these tough times that you're going through are not going to be here forever.
Right.
And I said, now you got to realize all those great times, they're not here forever either.
Right. Yeah.
You just got to ride that wave, and you got to be ready for when those waves hit you.
Right.
And the idea is to kind of steady yourself, so that in the good times you kind of brace yourself, and because those bad times are coming. And I think I think what you guys do is you stand in the gap, And I was at a meeting just today here in the tribe, and basically was told, that what the tribes here do, all of us here working at the tribes is to improve the quality of life,
right,
for all tribal members. So let's get back to you, Kylee. I'd like to hear. I mean, I know you do it, but I'm just. Can you guys expand or expound? Either one, I think. Just a little deeper into that and how all these programs work together to do that.
So when we have families that need our services, we can help recommend them to the food pantry, food distribution, the HOPE program. We work together with inside tribal resources and outside agencies to help with counseling, utility bills, anything that a family needs. We help provide beds to car seats to baby formula. if we have newborn babies.
I think I've heard it said before that this tribe the idea is we try to serve people from all the way from the cradle to it's from birth to their entire lives. What I understand is that the tribe, we want to be there in the beginning, and we want to be there as you're getting older. We don't want to leave anyone out at any important time of their lives.
This is true. And through the course of your life, you're going to stumble somewhere, somehow. Some of these single moms with kids, they might need diapers. We were providing diapers. Sometimes even like our elders were needing adult diapers. We provided adult diapers. Like with Kylie's program and social services, that we have prevention programs. So we do get referrals a lot from the state, DHS, also from schools, public health nurses. That services are needed at these homes. We're not trying to go in and even with DHS to, remove kids. We want to find out what's the problem. And so oftentimes, unless it's something serious, but maybe it's just a shortage of food, or lights are shut off, or water is shut off. We have the ability in our department to help get lights turned on, get water turned on, fill up a fridge, provide diapers. And even sometimes we have children being moved overnight where they're going from one home to another, and that home may not have a crib or a bunk bed or something that they need to take care of these kids on an emergency basis. So ICW has really good resources to be able to provide those beds, food, diapers, social services as well. So we have what's called a prevention team that steps in before children are removed. We're trying to fill that home, our tribal homes, with services, resources, whatever we need to do before we take that next step. So prevention's a really integral part of what we do, especially like with the food. We can always provide food. We can provide utilities. We can do everything possible to prevent children and elders from being, put in an APS system or a CPS system. So,
yeah, and we work in the education department, and so many times I've discussed with other people in this department, when it comes to Indian education, and we want higher ed and so forth, and when you talk to teachers, it's like when you're dealing with a child who maybe is falling behind in class or whatever, you can't just think, well, they must not be trying very hard. You don't know the backstory. It could be it very well could be that child that didn't have breakfast that day or the 3 days before, and it could be that child is wearing dirty clothes because they could be the only clothes he or she has, or they had no way to wash. And so I we discussed, and I think the same thing happens here. For us to function properly as the kind of human beings we're supposed to be and function in a society, if your basic needs are met, you really can't be who you're supposed to be,
mm-hmm.
right?
Right. And I think too, a lot of that comes from substance abuse disorders. It also comes, and that also because of substance abuse with parents and guardians and stuff, we have to end up, there's a lot of grandparents raising kids. Yeah. But our services are not really made for grandparents to raise kids. Our elder care program, which is one of my programs too, it really serves the elder individual, but we don't provide support services through elder care for those that are taking care of grandkids. But we have looked at this. We have looked at grants that through Indian Child Welfare Social Services could provide support services. So grandparents that are taking care of grandkids, we can assist them more. But HOPE program helps. I think it helps a lot. But oftentimes, those kids that are struggling in school because of home life, substance abuse is always somewhere in the background.
Oh,
there.
yeah. It's and that's with any race.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can't just there are so many factors that go into oh my gosh, just getting a kid to 18, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so I think we know how that goes.
We know.
Eddie, you're talking about the food distribution and food pantry. What do you see as like I don't know, maybe maybe not the biggest need, or maybe one of the consistent issues that you deal with, that thing that you always have to provide?
I mean, there's different factors, but I would just say that thing that distinguishes our ability to help those in need is to be out there, what am I trying to say, is to just be out there that they know that we can actually be there for their benefit to get the food that they need. You look at our program with the food pantry, we actually go out to different towns outside of our service area, and we try to provide food for people out there that live in Tulsa or
Really?
Lawton,
Wow.
up to Enid, Ponca City, Ada. We've tried to expand out to Ada. Just those communities that we know we got tribal members out there that could use some of that assistance. So we try to visit them at least 2 times a year, and just try to, make the most of what we can give to our tribal members.
Yeah, and I think maybe you were talking about being proactive as opposed to reactive. I think maybe that's what you were talking about.
Right.
And I think, do you find, and this is questions for any of you all here, do you find that when you make contact with someone who is in need of any of your services that we're talking about, that they did not know about it, or do you think that people just didn't know how to ask, or I mean, I'm sure the program has been around a while, but what I've noticed is that when you talk about, and I've said this over and over in different podcasts, when you talk about Western Oklahoma, it's very rural, and if you live in one of these small, tiny tribal towns, maybe they're only really 150 miles away from Concho, or where a lot of our services, or even Clinton.
Mm-hmm.
That 150 miles in some cases may as well be 500. Because its transportation is an issue, especially if you're talking about grandparents
Mm-hmm.
raising their grandkids, and maybe in a small town where there's not what you would call a lot of economic opportunity, and
Correct.
and if transportation is not readily available, man, then you've got to go find people where they are, right?
Right. And I think that's one of the good things about the mobile medical unit.
They
And
call them moo-moos.
the moo-moos, yeah. when that first came out, and then in
That's
the
a
past
great
year,
thing, yeah.
oh man, I'm telling you, because any of our outreach services, because all these programs have outreach services, we partner with them. We can show up at any of their locations. They have their schedule out for a year, so we see where they're going. Oftentimes, a lot of our outreach, we don't necessarily try to go to anything in a close range of Concho, anything within 30 miles, or even Watonga. But we're talking about places like further out, like Woodward, Sealing, Canton. We always hit those communities way up there, or out in Elk City, or Hammond, out that way. But mobile medical is awesome, and they're a good partnership for our department to go out and reach people. But also our food pantry schedules 2 outreaches a month. Well, 2 out of area. So like this month we're going to Lawton, I think,
And Shawnee.
So
Wow, the east side. Wow,
Mhm.
east side.
and Shawnee, we hadn't gone there until I think the power went out there. Was it a
Right.
tornado or a
Yeah.
storm
Oh,
or
yeah,
something?
yeah.
But we went out there, and we had like 100 something tribal members
Wow, I
pop
had
up.
no idea.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it was in Tulsa too.
Right.
We started going out to Tulsa at the beginning of the food pantry outreaches, and they had a big storm out there last year, and their power was out for like 5 days in some sections of the city, and we took out about 100 boxes out there, and man, tribal members were lined up all the way. It was amazing. So we know in these areas, especially Lawton, there's a lot of tribal members.
Mhm.
And so the best, like you said, like how do we get information out and let people know that we exist?
Through a cool podcast like this, right?
Podcasts, social media, that's really all we got. I can't individually call people. I don't mail out flyers anymore. But we do as far as like social media. And so a lot of people say, I don't do Facebook, that's really all we got. I can't email everyone individually.
Well, you know what? If they don't do Facebook, we don't want anything to do with them anymore. No, I'm kidding.
We do the best we can.
I mean, that just happens to be the largest one.
Yeah.
And I think we're all I can speak for me and Eddie. We're of that age, that Facebook age, And, the younger folks are on Instagram,
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you right now, I got a weak Instagram game. and the one, even in here with the CNA Productions, we gotta step up our game on there, We got Facebook down, but Instagram is, we go, oh yeah, we got to do that one too. And we haven't jumped into TikTok yet, and I don't know that we will, but hey, I'm just saying.
You gotta give TikTok a try.
Yeah. I think that we do the most as far as our outreach and trying to get out into the communities outside of the service area, because we know that people that live outside of our service area, that's always their biggest concern, is getting the same services out there that those in our county service area get. And so the one thing that we were adamant about was getting our food boxes out. And usually the HOPE program and elder care accompany our food
Oh, that's
pantry.
right. We haven't even gotten to them yet. Let's that's like, okay, we could talk about these 3 programs forever.
All day, yeah.
Tell me about HOPE.
HOPE. Okay. So the HOPE program is a good resource for tribal members who are in need as well. With social services, we have LIHEAP and LIWOP, and they assist with utility assistance, water.
Now, I know
electric.
what LIHEAP is. What'd you say, what?
LIWOP.
LIWOP?
Yeah. So it's kind of LIWOP, yeah. So, LIHEAP is it's a seasonal service for like your
It's
heating.
lower income heat, air.
Yeah, heat and air. So it's kind of like it's a seasonal thing. And we assist with those utilities. But HOPE program is another resource. So we help with utility assistance. They and it's income based.
Mm-hmm.
And also they help with rent, and they also help with medical fuel cards to get to medical appointments. And it's not every week or all the time, but we try to help as far as like cancer patients, dialysis patients.
Mm-hmm.
And so just to ease, a trip or two. But then there is also like food cards. So that's another resource for food. They do distribute food cards based on tribal members in the household, but everything at the HOPE program is income eligible. So, but it doesn't necessarily matter where you live. So we have clients that are overseas,
Wow.
They apply for services.
Wow.
And one of the, we were talking about.
Talk about being able to touch people, on a wide basis. That's really cool.
Yeah. Elder care. They just hit 2,300 elders. They announced at our meeting the other day.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have, they mail out food checks every month. And so they have some that go out to Germany. Like they have people all over. So our tribal members are far reaching. And one of the things that I always bring up with our programs, and even at our department meeting the other day, was that our local people say, they didn't know that was, available, or we could do that, or there was a deadline. But whenever we send out a flyer for like the holiday food carts, I think one of the first 5 applicants we got was from the United Arab Emirates.
Wow.
And we were cracking up because I said, I remember when they applied last year.
Wow.
And
well, of course you would. I mean,
yeah, I was going, oh my gosh, United Emirates. I just think that's awesome. But to me, that shows how far reaching our social media is, for our tribe, and that people out there in the world do know that they have services here back home that they can apply for, that we can send to them. And they're so grateful. So when somebody right down the street here, 9 miles up the road, says, I didn't know, I'm always like, how did you not
Where
know?
have you been?
Puerto Rico's calling us, Germany's calling us, and you guys are right here. So I think that, I think we make all the efforts. I don't think people couldn't possibly know unless, they absolutely have no phone and no mail and no
Which
paper.
I'm
always amazed.
Some people,
We do our
to
best.
stay private. I don't know.
Yeah, we do our best.
Well, I know, like I said, we've only got 3 of you represented here, but once you two throw in some more programs that we're under the same umbrella.
EYS. James.
Oh yeah, EYS. We have the emergency youth shelter.
We have a new one too, right?
Mm-hmm.
A new
yes,
shelter,
it's
right?
a transitional living.
Yeah.
That's why he couldn't be here today. He's busy with that new project.
Okay.
So we work together, Indian Child Welfare and EYS. If we don't have foster homes available for the children, we could open our Cheyenne and Arapaho youth shelter, and we have house parents that keep the children for us. The transitional living hasn't opened yet, but it will be opening soon, and it's going to be a long-term care facility for the older teenagers that are transitioning out. It'll house 16, 8
Up to
boys,
16.
yeah, 8 boys and 8 girls.
That's our new facility. That was built behind the current facility.
Just last summer, I guess.
Mhm.
I was there for that. Beautiful, it's really
Yeah.
nice.
Really nice.
And as I understand, it was very, very much needed.
Yes, yes. Because our teenagers are the hardest to place.
Yeah.
And especially long-term wise.
Mhm.
But James Ravelis, he's over that program, and then Sophie Burgess has been with them for a long time.
Yeah,
she's still there. Yeah, she's still with us.
I ran into Sophie and I was talking to her, and I forget. I think she said something like, full disclosure here. You guys know I'm not Cheyenne, right? Or Arapaho, but I've been adopted. Yeah. Hey.
Right.
Is that why we're on the same side of the
Yeah.
Like,
so
Cena.
I'm Southwest size, I'm from the Pueblo folks, and I ran it. Miss Sophie asked me, and she goes, and I told her, I had folks that coach a team, and she got all excited, because she goes, I didn't think you looked very Cheyenne, I said, I didn't think you was tall enough to be Cheyenne, right? But yes, she's, I told her, because she's really small, and I was like, hey, whenever I go out to the Pueblo, man, I feel like a giant out there with my 5'8", all 5'8" of me. I feel like a green giant,
She's awesome.
Yeah,
Miss
but
Sophie.
how long has she been doing that?
Gosh, it's been over 30 years.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the exact amount of years. I know James knows because he talks about it all the time.
Everybody loves her, and it was very obvious.
Absolutely.
She was a pleasure to talk with. Well, I know that, so under the social services department there, a dozen or so programs?
Well, there's 6 programs.
Okay. Who have we still not talked about?
Oh man, we have a ton. Like under social services, which is Andrea Patterson's the director.
Okay.
And she's very busy right now. She has the LIHEAP program and LIWAP, like we said, utility assistance, and they also do weatherization. So
we were doing not long ago. We were helping promote the ACP, the Affordable Connectivity, the Wi-Fi thing. And that program was there doing a whole weatherization demonstrations. They were talking about changing filters, and they were fixing your water heater, I believe, and all kind of great stuff, really simple stuff.
Yeah, that's social services. They have a lot of different kind of services. They have general assistance. They have supervised IAMs. But foster care is very important too. They have a team of people that certify homes, and then also when ICW is in need of placement, that's who we call, and they search homes that they have a list of homes that are certified, and they try to find child a placement, because the last place we want to put them in is in our shelters. We want to place them in a foster home and so they do a really great job. Foster care has done an amazing job. They're constantly recruiting home.
That's what I was going to say. I know that any foster care program, they're always in need, always looking for more homes. Is that, can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes,
what are you looking for in a home? I'm sure there's certification involved.
There is certifications. There's an application process, but we are always in need of homes. We get, from newborns up to 17-year-olds, even some 18-year-olds will sign themselves back into custody until they graduate or find a forever home to adopt them. But there is a shortage of foster homes, and it's not just tribal, it's statewide. And even right now, there's a shortage on shelters. The state shelters aren't accepting children because they're all full, because there's not enough state foster homes either.
And I apologize if this is not an intelligent question or intelligent sounding, but when we're talking about Native kids on our end, are we talking about looking for tribal homes?
Yes,
I mean,
we
that's
are
the
in
preference, I
need
guess,
of
right?
looking for tribal homes. Yes.
And and I'm guessing it's Cheyenne and Arapaho focused first, and then it spreads out, or does it at this
Anyone
point? Does it?
anyone can apply for the program to become a foster parent, but to make it ICWA compliant, they would need to one adult would need to be an enrolled tribal member.
That's
of
kind of. I
federal-
figured there was some sort of requirement for that.
Well, we have tribal homes, but they're not necessarily Cheyenne Arapaho tribal
Yeah,
homes.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, in the best interest of our tribal kids, we would want that. But we constantly have open recruitment. Our foster care workers go all over our service area, Oklahoma City. They go to all these outreaches trying to recruit homes. It's very difficult, and I'm not sure why, but we haven't had new applicants from our service area in a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
So when our kids go into custody and not into the shelter but into a home, most of the time it's not a Cheyenne Arapaho tribal home. But like you said, to be ICWA compliant, one of the parents have to be tribal, so it might be another tribe. But we try to keep them in an ICWA compliant home.
And I just realized I don't know, but it could be that some folks listening and or watching might not know what ICWA is, and that's Indian. It stands for Indian Child Welfare Act.
True.
But ICW is Indian Child Welfare.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yes.
I actually knew that.
Correct.
I found that there's so many, especially when you deal with federal funding here. Everybody's got an acronym, It's like-
Right.
Yeah.
and if usually unless you work in that program, you don't know what the heck they're talking about.
I know. I found that too, just working in this department. And then when I go to meetings in other departments and they talk in acronyms,
And they have it's like
I'm
a different language.
I'm like, stop talking in acronyms. But I do it myself in our department. I forget. So yeah, in child welfare.
Yeah.
And so I think that Kylee has really done a great job over there as far as organizing her staff and making sure all of our kids are covered, because her caseworkers, they don't only work on tribal cases in our tribal court, they work in every state in the U.S. So
Yeah.
Wow.
every tribal kid that's out there is to be represented by our Indian child welfare caseworkers. So there were times when we were way overwhelmed with state cases. But now, our tribal cases are shrinking a little bit. We've had kids be reunified or adopted, but with the lowering of the blood quantum, it did affect our services a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the state case number went up. So, but that's what we're here for. So.
Well, and like I said, I have to keep asking because just I'm not totally familiar with. I just want to make sure that we speak a little on each one of the programs, and I don't want to miss any
Department.
miss
I think one of the important programs as well would be under social services. They have victims. I don't know what exactly they call that, but I wish she was here. But they do have a team of people there that provide services for victims of crime. So they have a domestic violence advocate, sexual assault, family violence, and like I
Who's
said,
over
victims
that?
of crime. Andrea Patterson is the director of social services, but she hired a coordinator, Nathan Littlehawk.
Okay.
And so we do have a team of advocates there.
Is
on
that one
call.
fairly new?
Well, the advocates are not,
Mm-hmm.
but just the way we reorganize social services to have a coordinator for those specific positions, that's a new thing. But they are all under social services, so those, and they've helped all tribal members. Those grants are also Department of Justice, and so they're federally funded, and they can assist people in our service area that are from other tribes. So we not only help our tribes, we help other tribes. And they're always trying to find new resources there for, because right now we're able to place victims of domestic violence in shelters. But we want our own place to shelter our victims. So we have been looking at, we went up to Tonkawa to go see, the Tonkawas have the tiny homes that they provide services to their domestic violence victims. There's like a home where they can place their victims. I just hate using that word, but stuff like that. We want to find different resources to help house our people in need. So,
what I really enjoy hearing is about the services you provide. And they're tangible things, like you said food boxes, and you said gift cards, and you said No, I think did we talk about clothing yet or something like that? Well, I don't remember. But what I mean is it's not just throwing money at the problem.
No.
Because if we were like one of those big, huge tribes, yeah, maybe you could do that. But it's not. It's more than that's not good. That will only go so far, unless you're, and everybody says unless you got boots on the ground, and you got people actually doing the work, and getting those physical things, the things that people need physically, that they tangible things. That's what makes a difference in folks' lives. And yeah, there's money involved. There's all kind of funding involved, but it's not just throwing money at a problem. Now, talk about funding. I want to ask you. I guess is it fair to the majority of what you guys do in social services is federally funded?
For the programs are.
Okay.
Yeah, for the programs are, especially these two.
We would say majority, probably.
Yeah, like USDA,
Okay.
BIA, but between Elder Care and Hope, those are gaming programs. And so the tribe funds those. And the flexibility of services is a little bit different. I mean, it's, they still have an eligibility guideline, but it's not as stringent as these programs or social services and their DOJ grants. Or even EYS. They have strict emergency use shelter.
Okay. See, there's another acronym.
Emergency use shelter. James Ravel's.
I got one for you. How about PYT?
PYT.
Who remembers that? Hey. Okay, I'm so sorry. I just busted a serious up all up in it.
No, it's okay. It's part of it. I mean, you can kind of like the federally funded grants. Like I said, there's a lot of rules and guidelines and policies. But we do have flexibility in the HOPE program. And one of the things, too, that I don't think we've discussed today, which is one of the biggest topics that we discuss all the time in my department, is the issue of homelessness.
Wow. Yeah.
And,
we haven't even gotten there yet. Because that's a problem that affects every race, every color. And you can go anywhere in Oklahoma, well, any city now.
Any city.
And you can just bet money that, there are Native people in that group, and and I know that at one point I heard folks talking about putting together a homeless shelter or something in one of our ERCs or whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not going to get into the whole. Well, the thing that struck me is I thought, well, you have a lot of. Let's talk, let's say that Oklahoma City has largest, let's say they probably do have the largest area of homeless people in general, and probably most likely homeless Native people. Well, you can't just gather them all up and say, hey, we're going to shove you in this little town in western Oklahoma. And we can't do that. It's not feasible. And it's not feasible to build a homeless shelter in every community that we serve. So where does it even... it's a huge problem.
We talk about where do we start? I mean, we've had these conversations in our directors' meetings and even meeting with our chief of staff. And where do we start? When there was funding available through like ARPA or the big funds that came through over the path because of COVID, we had these different ideas presented to the legislators and the governor. And a lot of it, I think the main ideas were all transitional living homes. One of them was like sober living. One of them was like teenagers aging out of Indian child welfare, domestic violence shelters, but homeless shelter. So I know social services director and her staff have gone out to homeless shelters to see how do they determine what is homelessness. There's so many different degrees.
There's a lot of people who choose to be homeless.
Yeah, there's many. Yeah,
you're not going. Certain people are not going to change their minds.
Right. So where do we start? I mean, of course, the priority is always elders. Of course, the priority is always families, children. Yeah. But sometimes, like, I know that Hope gets the most requests for assistance for homeless, which could be displaced. Sometimes families break apart overnight and, stuff like that. And like we said, like the paycheck to paycheck, it takes one missed rent to cause havoc on an entire
Yeah,
home.
and you make that 3, and then it's just,
Yeah, yeah.
hey, it's
And we come across that a
getting
lot.
down to it's you could be pushed over the edge real easily.
There is a need for some type of homeless service program, something. Hope can't cover everything, and we try to assist the best we can in that program. But especially like I think every time like there's bad weather coming in, cold weather or something like that, some kind of natural disaster type situation, they're going to step in and help.
Mm-hmm.
And we do get a lot of applications for those type of assistance for our people. Houses burning down, things like that out there that we, creates homelessness. But when there's an immediate need, yeah, but long term, what can we do as a tribe? Where can we place them? How do we help? So a lot of times our teams come together and try to create, to try to pull resources and help a family with opportunities out there. We have had to move entire families from their community 150 miles to another, just because there was no place for them to stay, no jobs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
and
if you're talking about small towns, I understand.
It actually worked. But I know I went to the governor and I was just like, I don't know what we're going to do about this family, And he was like, we'll see if they want to move. And we moved this whole family over, and they're thriving, and they're still in the same.
Wow, that's awesome.
3 years later, they're in the same home. They're thriving. They're doing well. And in the beginning, it was a difficult pill for them to swallow.
Yeah.
Like, we can't help you up here. We need to move you.
You know what? a toxic environment is a toxic environment. And it may not just be the block you're living on. It could be the neighborhood you're living in and the city you're living in.
The community,
Yeah.
And it worked. So I think stuff like that, you see that. And at first it's scary. It's scary for the families to move. But, mom told kids, because the kids didn't want to leave their town. They didn't want to leave their friends. And mom's like, look, they're providing us with a home. I'm tired of, living in the park. Let's go. And it took a little bit of convincing. And after they settled in, they, like I said, they're thriving. Sometimes that's what it takes. But homelessness is difficult. It's a difficult subject to address because I don't have all the answers.
Yeah, and who does? Where do you start?
Yeah.
You mentioned we've talked about funding a lot, and one question I had, which I didn't, that's when I asked you about. It sounds like the majority of the programs and services there are federally funded.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, I know there's so many grants that the tribe works with here. Are we talking? Are you talking through grants this works, and do you have to reapply every year? Or I know that as I understand, a lot of programs even here there are grants that you got to apply so often, and it's not even guaranteed you're going to get it, even though you met all the criteria. It's not even guaranteed you're going to get it the next time, or maybe it's only eligible to this for two or three times in a row, and then you're ineligible. Then there are grants that just roll over as long as you keep your data and all that.
Reports,
So I'm curious, how does this work on your?
Well,
I know. I'm just saying.
So many.
Is there stuff that automatically rolls over?
There are.
Okay. I feel so much better about that.
No, no, there is. Like food distribution.
Give it up to the government for that.
They have. That's how they are. So they are funded, and we have to just maintain reports, budgets, and
proper
spending and things like that.
But I guess that it's
so
there are assurances as long as you do this.
Yes.
They will. Okay.
But then there's some that is kind of like a 1 time, 1 year, one time, 2 years.
So you
so it just
someone
depends.
has to keep track of all that.
Yes, and that's social services. They have 13 grants, and every one of them's different.
Yeah.
Eddie has grants for USDA grants for food distribution, but they also got an LFPA grant, which is local food purchasing grant, and for their food pantries, solely for the food pantries. So it's funding that allows him to purchase food from local farmers within 400 miles.
Nice.
And so it puts money back into our communities. And so
local farms,
Right.
farm to table. How cool is that?
I know, we're lucky.
Golly,
So-
we should open a restaurant, Eddie. Golly.
Yeah, Kim Goodbear from
Eddie's Kitchen.
our
Come on over.
is our grant writer. We go through for the grants for his program as well. So Kim Goodbear's done a really great job for us, and same with her program. Sometimes she gets grants. She was just like, "Oh, we got another one." She has. How many do you have now? Federal.
3 or 4.
4. I think we
Yeah.
just got that 4th one.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of them would just provide, like some of the smaller ones provide prevention services for, families that come on the radar. Or when our kids are already in custody, it provides additional stuff for their needs when they go, like clothing or bunk beds and stuff like that. So, yeah, we have
And
a lot
they
of
all
grants.
expire at different times.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
fun,
they all
isn't it?
require reports and
Yeah.
budgets, and some of them require matching funds that the tribe has to provide
Mm-hmm.
20% or 25%. So every single one of these grants is different, including emergency youth shelter.
Yeah.
So
Well, like I said, I had to ask, 'cause, and like I said, what this is, what I love about doing this podcast is that so many people that we bring in. I know a little bit about the program, but I don't know all the stuff like that. I wouldn't know, and I think what's great is it's the conversation that we're having that all these wonderful people will see, on the YouTube and all the different platforms that this podcast is on. That information will hopefully get into the hands of the people who really need it, and that's what you guys are here for. That's what we're all here for. So I kind of feel like we've kind of gotten a really good bite on this subject here. So, but I don't want to leave wrap this thing up before I give you guys each a chance to. I think so many jobs here, including the ones that you guys do, you could not do properly unless you really had a passion for it. Am I right?
True.
Yeah. Let's start with you, Eddie. You know what? I mean, just, where does that come from? Why do you do it? And what do you hope to? What do you want to see happen?
I think to me personally, it's always been about seeing our people become better and that they're actually getting services that they have the opportunity to get. One thing working with Winona and the rest of these programs, it's about how we complement each other and what we do and how we can help each other. We always know we can refer and do this or do that, but the way we complement each other and the services that we provide, I mean, it really speaks volumes. And just to see enjoyment of our tribe members receive the help, and they see them grow it's really eye-opening. I really enjoy it.
Kylee?
It's 100% passion. Indian child welfare requires a lot because we are not the typical 8 to 5.
Oh, no.
We're 24 hours a day. We care about our tribal children, our tribal parents. The best feeling is when you help that family pick up the broken pieces and they all get to reunite and be happy, family back together again. It's a very rewarding job, but it can be a very stressful job.
I'm sure.
stressful.
Yes.
What about you, Winona?
Where do I start? No, I'm just kidding. I think it, it's just like they said, they both said it, being able to create opportunities for our families to be more successful in their home life and, just being able to keep the lights on, being able to make sure your kids have something to eat before they go to bed. Just all the services that we provide, I think it's like, to me, it means everything. Protection, elders, kids. I think every single person that works in this department has a hand in that, and it takes special people, I think, to have the heart for this. But like I said, because it can be off hours, it can be holiday weekends, it can be, and so the reward is the service. When somebody, when you turn your light off at night and you know that family is in a warm bed and had something to eat, took a hot shower, you know what I mean? What other families who don't ever have those needs take for granted.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, for us, we're applying our services to those that are in need. And that's like, it's the greatest thing ever. If you've ever been without food, you know that feeling. If you're put your kids to bed without something. And we want to prevent that. We have so many resources for food in this department, as well as keeping your utilities on.
Oh, man.
You know, and
Got to have that attitude of
Yeah.
gratitude, baby.
yeah, every time. So that's kind of like the greatest thing. And I think if you called any one of these people out and their staff members to deliver a food box way out in the middle of nowhere after work hours, they would do it. I mean, that's kind of what we do. Food cards, food boxes, ICW, man. Those guys are warriors out there. Social services, CPS, APS. Like, we have so many really good people working here. But like you said, passion is what it is. I mean, it makes you feel good at the end of the day, I think, to be able to help a family out. And it might just be one person. It might be a lot of people. But when someone says, thank you. Thank you for helping us feed our grandkids. Thank you for providing us with the shelter for the weekend. That means more than anything. So we do our best, I feel. We do so much really good. And the governor has always been very supportive of our services. And sometimes stuff comes to him that we don't even hear about. We're like, what? You know? So we try to address those. But definitely passion is it. And it comes from all these people that I work with. I'm really lucky, fortunate to have them.
Are y'all pumped up now? Hey, let's go run that marathon now, right?
Let's go.
Well, I want to thank you, Hahu, Niash, to each one of you for being here. Like I said, I know that we could have had 3 tables full of people out here, but
Right.
with all the
For sure.
programs you have, but we that wouldn't have worked out very well. Hey, no, I'm glad. Maybe we can bring them on next time, you know. So I want to thank you guys for coming out and sharing the good info, and hopefully it gets out there. Hopefully, you know, we'll get you guys some more business, and you know, you can help some more folks, and then we'll get more of those ha-hoos. So, hey, thank you all for joining us. And I want to thank our Cheyenne and Arapaho Tribe's Social Services Department for being here. And thank you for doing the good work and getting us all the good info. And so we will see you next time. Take care.